So we should be live, but let me check.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, every time I do this check, something goes bad for me. So, okay, we're live.
Excellent.
Great. So, hello, everyone. Welcome again. In case you were here for the previous interview with Marco Machela and you came back now for the interview with Andrew. Our host this time is Andrew Hutchings from MariaDB, also known as Linux Jedi. Hi, Linux Jedi.
Hi, thank you. Great to be here.
Do you prefer to be called Andrew or Linux Jedi?
They are both interchangeable. It's completely interchangeable. So people know me as one or the other. Not many people know me as both. So whatever works.
Okay, great. I will call you Andrew because it's easier.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
So, as I announced previously, the reason why I wanted to interview you, and I told you actually almost at the last moment, is that you wrote a very interesting article on your blog, which is, can you say the URL actually of your blog?
linuxjedi.co.uk.
Okay, great. So you wrote this very interesting article with your views about software communities and in particular the problems of MySQL and MariaDB community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I should say community or communities because, well, it's mostly the same people, but not exactly the same people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to maybe talk yourself about your views about MySQL community for people who didn't read your article?
Yeah. So what it comes down to really, and I know Marco actually mentioned this in the previous talk about the cathedral and the bizarre kind of way that open source software tends to work. Now, Oracle's MySQL tends to be more leaning towards the cathedral way of software development. And because of that, communities become quite difficult, especially when it's a corporation managing the community rather than an independent body managing the community. They have the right to do whatever they want in the community, including censorship. And there appears to be, based on what several people have been telling me, that there has been some censorship of blogs going on because of certain keywords that have been mentioned. And this tends to damage not just the people those keywords belong to, but also other people who are blogging, say, Proxy SQL or something like that. If they're blogging and mentioning these keywords, suddenly in Planet MySQL, that blog post is not shown. And that kind of damages everyone in the community, then the MySQL users and users of other forks of MySQL. So this is why I came up with the idea, and this is something that I've been speaking to other open source experts on this kind of thing before, and I worked on OpenStack as well, where we had a kind of foundation which was for all the companies involved, for all the projects involved in OpenStack, and these companies would be competing with each other. But they would still, all the developers work as one, or the users work as one kind of thing to create this unified stack, as well as there being sub-projects which all the different companies would work on. So this is why I was kind of coming up with this idea.
Yeah, I agree. What is... Well, actually, I think that our community, MariaDB and MySQL community, for someone who comes from outside and approaches them, I think they have an, I don't know if unusual, but noticeable characteristic. Basically, all or almost all initiatives come from a company. It could be It could be Oracle, it could be MariaDB Corporation, it could be Percona, but they always come from a single company.
See, MariaDB try and separate this out a bit. So MariaDB has a foundation and a corporation. They are two completely separate entities. The foundation tends to own source code. I believe they also own the trademark, and the corporation licenses it. And they deal a lot with the outreach and the community kind of stuff. Whereas the corporation pay a lot of the developers, not all of them, but they pay a lot of the developers. They also work on other projects outside of that, such as MaxScale and kind of other projects that work with MariaDB, if you see what I mean.
But do you agree with me that from outside, and not necessarily from outside, it's very hard to see the difference between MariaDB Foundation and MariaDB Company?
Yes, I completely agree. That is something that I know the foundation are working on trying to solve. It doesn't help they have both the same name, I know, but I can't speak for them because I in particular work for the corporation. So
yeah. So if we want to have a foundation, where should we start from?
That is a very good question, and I wish I had a very good answer for that. I believe you would need a group of people that are in agreement, some kind of charter or something built like that. You would need to find funding for it. You need to make sure that the board of the foundation is independent and not skewed too much in one direction. I've never built a foundation myself, so obviously I don't have background in this, but I know quite a few people that have, and I'm sure they would be able to answer that question a lot better than me.
Okay. Do you think it would be easy or hard for someone who wants to do that to cooperate with the vendors?
Hard. Definitely hard. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but there are going to be resistance in the vendors, definitely. Some will want to cooperate, some will see it as a competition. There would be a lot of diplomacy involved in whoever wants to build this kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. If I can say this, sometimes a problem that arises is that a good characteristic of our community is that people does criticism, constructive criticism. But on the other side, there are also a lot of people with very thick skin,
yes,
which doesn't like to be criticized.
Yeah. I totally get that. And there was a time way back where I got criticized a lot for my opinions. It was back long when I was around the time I was on the Drizzle project, and the criticism was quite harsh. But yeah,
yeah, sometimes
it could push people away. And in fact, I was out of the database world for several years after that. So.
Okay. So unless you want to add something on this topic, I would like to switch to something else very briefly.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, great. Because you already had some talks and a podcast, I think, about a big topic, which is burnout. And I believe it is a topic that involves a lot of people, but we simply don't talk enough about it. People in burnout are often kind of left alone. Do you want to talk about your experience and your view about this?
I can try and make it brief, but so for those that don't know, I mean, I did a talk on this at FOSDEM. I also did a talk at one of your events about this way back here around 2011. I had a lot of stressful things going on at the same time, and one of which was redundancy and trying to find a new job. And I had loads of conference talks to give at the same time, and basically it all got on top of me. My hair started falling out while I was at a MySQL conference. I didn't know what that was all about until much later, and I was diagnosed with depression. I was on antidepressants, but I later found out it was actually burnout that I was suffering from. It took a long time to recover from that. So yeah, and basically what I've been very open about it since then. You know, since I recovered from it. My hair is back, as you can see. It's grey, but it's back. It's now just natural balding. So yeah, and I basically telling people, you know, I've been a manager of quite a few people. You know, communication is really important with these kind of things. You know, I need when I'm managing people, I try and, you know, make sure that they're not overloaded, but also try and make sure, you know, if there's anything they need to talk to me, that I am open and available to talk. Because without communication, you're bottling it all up, the pressure, it can just get on top of you.
Okay. What would you suggest to someone who's experiences burnout?
Talk to someone. Definitely communicate. Communication is the most important thing, in my opinion, is the most important thing, you know, and you'd be surprised the number of people who would actually empathize with you. You know, it might be a scary thing. You know, I'm lucky. I got my wife to talk to and things as well, but not everyone has a partner they can speak to or friends that they can be as open with. There are people out there. There are groups out there that can help you. I wish I had links to them, but I don't. That can help you, and it does help. Communication does help. Surprisingly, more than you think. You know, come talk to me. You know, several people after my talks have come and talked to me about their experiences, and I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about it.
Great. Do you see some similitudes between the burnout and the mental state that some people are experiencing now because of the lockdown?
Yes, I could definitely see that. Part of one of the things one of the key things I said that in my talks that could cause burnout is your freedom or free will being or the illusion of that being taken away from you. And in lockdown, you suddenly can't go out anymore. You can't talk to people that you would normally talk to, especially if you're someone who talks to many people throughout the week, throughout the day. It's a big change, and it can be really difficult for a lot of people. And this combined with lots of other things can definitely cause burnout. And you know, burnout and depression are extremely similar. I mean, I'm not a expert on mental health, but I would say that probably a lot of experts would say this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. You personally, I suppose you worked at home even before the lockdown, right?
Yep. You can see this is my office here. This is where I spend most of my life at the moment. But yeah, I worked from home since 2008, since I started at Sun on MySQL.
Okay. I see your spectral colleague behind you.
Oh, yeah. It's changing color, but it's very hard to see on this camera.
Okay. How are you living this experience of lockdown?
So for me, it's not a massive change. I've got 2 teenage boys. They're at home at the moment. Obviously, they can't go to school and college. They're teenagers, so sometimes I see them. Most of the time they're in their rooms, or there's an office downstairs which my oldest is doing his artwork and things in. So that change, it's not massive for me. I used to go out for walks a lot more than I do at the moment. I'm not getting any exercise I used to, so that's something I need to solve. And obviously there have been changes in the UK in the last 24 hours, so who knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, no, my day-to-day really hasn't changed that much. Certainly work life hasn't changed.
Okay. Do you have some hints for people who are suffering because of the lack of social life.
Oh God, yeah. So I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. I think coming from a company point of view, if you've got employees that are suddenly having to work from home, I think it's really good to have some kind of water cooler type virtual meeting where it's not just all work. There is a social interaction as well, if you see what I mean, because you're not getting that with your colleagues at the moment, and possibly some kind of almost like cheesy type events, quiz type things going. We were batting ideas around between me and a few people on Twitter recently about this kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think these things are important. I talk to family on, we luckily now we're in technological age where we've got FaceTime, we've got Skype, we've got several different ways of communicating with people. So try and keep these communication lines open, even if you don't get all of the physical kind of face-to-face hand actions, whatever, you still get to communicate in some ways.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you a lot for this brief interview. I think we talked briefly, but about two very, very important topics. Just before leaving, I have a question out of curiosity. After this interview, what will you work on?
So I'm currently working on a R&D project in MariaDB. So I can't really talk much about what it is, but I will be giving a talk about it next month as part of OpenWorks. And yeah, I'll be diving back into the source code of that.
Great. So when it is time, it would be really good if you can leave a comment below this video and say what it was about and where can we find more information. Okay.
Sure thing.
So thank you again for your time. It's been great.
Thank you very much.
So for now, bye to everyone. I want to remind you that this very brief and almost unexpected interview was part of the 2 weeks of databases initiative. And the initiative will continue tomorrow with an interview with Peter Zaitsev from Percona. So bye to everyone and stay safe and stay brilliant.
Bye.
Bye.